so far. So I'll be starting now. In ancient times, the gods walked the mortal plains among us. Our world as we know it started in a place far from here, in a city named Neverwinter. The hero Ortega was born there. It was here that he would rise and defeat many a foe, gaining renown and favor among the peoples of this land. Legend says that on one of Ortega's many adventures, he saved a giant white fox from a band of hunters. In shock at the hero's willingness to give aid to her, once the ordeal was through, she revealed her true form, the goddess of the hunt. Ortega was instantly struck by the goddess, and the two's marriage was eventually blessed by the rest of the pantheon of gods, and Ortega was given the gift of divinity, becoming a demigod. However, unbeknownst to anyone, Asmodeus, the archdemon in the ninth circle of hell, had secretly been coveting this goddess. He tore a piece of his being from his own flesh and filled it with his malice and rage. This being was henceforth known as Asmodan, whose sole purpose was to consume Ortega, his beloved goddess, and all of their divinity. If Asmodan could consume their divinity, he would tear a hole in the multiverse, allowing creatures from each level of the 9 hells to traverse openly into our world, blazing a path for Asmodeus to devour the rest of the pantheon. A prophet warned the goddess with a haunting prophecy of things to come. So then the goddess tricked Ortega and her 10 sons to board a magic vessel under the pretense that she would be fleeing with them. As the last of her children stepped onto the mighty ship, the enchantments began to propel the boat forward at a great speed. In a panic, Ortega rushed to the railing to reach for his beloved, only to see her stricken down by Asmodan's rage, and he watched in horror as he devoured her. When they finally reached the distant shores at the end of their forced voyage, Ortega and his sons settled in an area which is widely agreed to be the place where the capital of Cantum now is. He trained his sons and made them great heroes themselves. Ortega had gathered mythical items from all over his adventures and bestowed them upon his sons. Anger, however, never left Ortega's heart, and after that day he eventually set off on a final adventure to slay Asmodan and Asmodeus. Ortega was never heard from and never returned to this land we know as Altgard, but his sons remained. They eventually spread out all across the land, founding the 10 great nations. Every year, to honor our history, an event is held, the Festival of the Favorite Son. Champions from each nation are chosen to compete in order to determine the favorite son of Ortega, and that is where we find ourselves today.